On Insurance on the Move this evening, we are navigating the maze of insurance claims in Nigeria. Of course, you know, insurance claims, that is something that a little bit controversial sometimes. But this evening, we'll try and do justice to it because we just want people to have a clearer understanding. Some people might begin to, give complaints. I lodged a complaint and nothing happened. Nigerians have very, very strong opinions about insurance, especially when it comes to claims. All right. So joining me this evening, I have Ebunoluwa Satimei. She's of the Retail Non-Life Claims Department with ICO Insurance PLC. Ebunoluwa, it's nice to have you join us. Good evening.
Good evening, sir, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Right.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Great. It's been quite a while we had you on the program, Ebun.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a while. I do recall the last time I came, and it was a very refreshing experience.
Right.
It's great to be here again to also talk about insurance claims once again.
Which is very, very good because we know that insurance is one of the very few services people only truly appreciate when something goes wrong. But unfortunately, that's also when misunderstandings happen the most. So this evening, let's begin to lay it bare, right? Let's start with the very, very big question. Nigerians believe insurance companies do not pay claims. I'm just saying this is not from you. I'm just echoing what people say. So, Ebunoluwa, do insurance companies pay claims? Talk to me.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Victor. So it's actually a very strong, and common misconception in Nigerians that insurance doesn't pay. But the truth is that insurance companies does pay claims, and insurance companies pay significant amounts. I know for ICO Insurance, for example, we pay significantly. What usually happens is that some people may have some negative experiences, and you see negative experience tend to travel faster than the positive and the good news, and tends to shape public opinion about what insurance is. But in many cases, with some of the challenges that we have identified that causes this misconception is as a result of either the claim being delayed or not being paid.
Right.
Which when you look at it critically comes down to gap in understanding what insurance really is all about.
All right. Okay. So for someone who is new to insurance, and I'm just saying this because I know there are a lot of people who are really eager to tap into insurance. So for someone who's new to it, what do they really need to understand before getting an insurance policy?
Okay, so before you get your insurance policy, I think there are some basic things that we need to understand about. One is to understand what is covered. What would your insurance policy cover? The second thing is to look at what would the insurance policy not cover, which typically we term as exclusions.
Okay.
And then, the last aspect now comes to, your responsibility that as someone who is purchasing insurance, what am I expected to do in terms of paying of premium, in terms of providing accurate information and all of these things. So once you understand what is covered, what is excluded, and what your role is, it then helps you to be able to know what to do when you have an insurance claim.
All right. So, like we say, if there is premium, there must be claims. So let's get into it right now. So, and I need you to give us some insights into some very, very, challenging reasons. So, I'd like you to give us some reasons why a claim may not be paid, Ebu. What are those reasons?
Yeah, there are usually a few reasons. So again, insurance does pay, but there are usually some situations that may lead to an insurance claim not being paid. And one of the major reasons is if the loss that is being claimed is not within the scope of the policy.
Okay.
If you, for example, you purchase a third-party insurance, and then you are making a claim for, the repair of your own vehicle. Under the third-party insurance, you can only claim for repair of the third party's vehicle, but not for your own vehicle. So, if the loss is not within the scope of the policy, if the claim sadly would not be paid, if there are some cogent information that should have been provided at the beginning of the policy that were not provided, this can also affect, the decision, when it comes to the settlement of the claim. Another thing that can happen is when the policy was not active at the time of the incident. For example, there is this, we've observed that, in some situations, a customer who has been purchasing insurance, can decide that, after all, there is no accident. What am I still, paying money for?
Or why do I need to renew?
Or why do I need to renew? Thank you. And then it now suddenly happens that the thing that they have been guarding against, but they decided not to renew for, now eventually happened. At that point in time, their policy is no longer active, and it now becomes an unfortunate incident, and the claim may not be paid at that point in time.
Right. So
also, if
yes, go ahead. Okay. So I just wanted to interject there by saying that, so let's put it in perspective. For someone who's been doing insurance, like we said, he's done motor insurance for the first year, second year, third year, fourth year. Let's assume by December 31st, the policy expired. He's supposed to renew January 1st. And while he was still, thinking, I will do this maybe by the 4th or 5th of January, something that happens on the 3rd of January, he is involved in an accident. And insurance now says, you're not covered at this point. That means you cannot be compensated. Is there anything that the insurance industry can really do about that?
So there's this principle, that the insurance industry runs by, which is the principle of no premium, no cover. And that principle just states that, if you do not have an active cover at the time of the insurance, if you do not have premium paid for that particular period of insurance, you will not get the required protection. So usually once the policy period ends and the renewal is not done immediately, it is deemed that the contract has ended. So if something happens after that point in time, the client may not be able to get compensation. They can try, but usually by the insurance standard, by principle, because the renewal was not done before
at the right time,
another incident happened. Yes.
Okay.
So they may not get protection as they would have, wanted.
Except if the company wants to give an understanding to say,
yes, except if the company wants to give an understanding. It's not usually in all cases. Usually they would consider the portfolio of the client. Maybe how long has this client been, within the portfolio of the business, and so many other factors will be considered before a consideration will be done. But it is not always the case.
Okay.
So it's better to be safe than, sorry.
All right. So people also complain about delays or perhaps reduced claim amounts. Let's talk about that really, because some will say the sum assured or perhaps the claim is supposed to be 300,000 and now the insurance company is giving me 292,000 instead of 300,000. Why does that happen?
Yes. Okay. So truly it does happen that the claim amounts, the amounts that the customers may get might actually be less. And, it's a very valid concern. So some of the things that happen is that if there is incomplete documentation, to back up the claim, maybe there are documents that are required regarding third parties, you understand, and those documentation are not provided, there could be, some those could lead to delays. If the claim is not notified timely, it could also lead to delays. For a complex claim, there will be need to go and investigate and verify. So those ones as well could lead to delays. For the aspect of, reduced amounts, there are usually, at least I know of two concepts that usually apply when it comes to insurance claim. There's the principle of excess, and the policy excess is usually like a portion, like a small percentage of, the claim that the policy holder is supposed to contribute to the claim. So, and usually in some cases, the customer can buy it back, you understand, just to minimize the cost on the customer when it comes to claims. So there's also something like betterment, which comes up when you are replacing an old with new, but that doesn't happen in all cases. So, but it is the main thing is to understand
how it works.
The policy document.
Okay, just hold on 1 second. Just hold on 1 second. We seem to be having people that would like to talk to you. Hello, good evening.
Okay.
Yeah, good evening.
All right, what's your name?
B.
Oh, B, how are you doing?
I'm very good.
So
it's good to have you back, Victor.
Thank you so much, B.
Yeah.
All right, so I have Ebunoluwa Satibey on the line, and we're talking claims this evening, B.
Yeah. So I want to ask, I know someone, a relative of mine, who had an issue with an insurance company. So a claim was rejected.
Okay.
And what kind of accepted it in this case? So in situations like that, what can people do to challenge, the rejected claim, where you know fully well that the information and everything is correct, and you ought to have been given something? How do you fight it? Do you go to the court? So what happens? How do you fight?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, B, for that question. I do not know if Ebon got what he was saying.
I didn't get it. Can you just take the question?
So he said B is saying that he had someone that filed for a claim and it was rejected by the company, but the person insists that he is right. So in a case like that, he's saying when a claim is rejected, how can someone seek for redress? Is there a way you can still proceed to another level, or can one go to the courts?
Okay, yes. So there are several ways to actually seek for redress. Number one would actually be to find out. So the first thing, there are several reasons why a claim would be rejected. I've mentioned that if it is not covered. So some of those things that go to the fundamentals of the policy, such as the coverage of the policy, most times it is always very difficult to contest it. You understand? But if it was rejected based on maybe incomplete documentation, you understand? If the customer can go ahead to try to provide those documentation so that, the claim can be readdressed. Okay. However, there are situations whereby, irrespective of, or maybe the client has done everything in their power to, notify, to provide everything, and the insurance company is still they're standing on their ground that certain issues, have not yet been provided, or certain things have not been resolved.
Okay.
The client can usually most insurance companies, they have their complaint management platform, so which the customer can actually go on an official complaint. They can escalate to the regulator as well, which is NICOM as well.
All right.
So, and they can also go to court.
Okay, then. Let's see if we can take some more reactions. 08099120777, 091-5387-7127. Insurance on the move. We're still tracking multiple accidents at Kara Bridge. And of course, we have that there inwards Mowe, and that's been caused by a trailer that lost control due to brake failure and rammed into other vehicles. If you want to join the conversation, feel free. 08099120777. We're talking claims this evening. Have you had any situation that relates to claim settlement, or perhaps you've been misunderstanding what claims really is and how it can be handled? Feel free to speak with Ebun Satibey, who is here. This one says, good evening. Please, I want to ask, why is it so hard to actually get claims paid in Nigeria? It feels like insurance companies always delay. Ebuka is sending that one in. Ebuka, I think Ebun has spoken about that earlier on. This one says, please, I want to understand, is it true that small mistakes in documentation can make your claim get rejected? Mrs. Afolabi is sending that one. Ebun, I need you to respond to that one. Small mistakes.
Okay. So usually it shouldn't outrightly get your claim rejected. I think that is one of the developments in the insurance industry in recent time. In the NIRA Act that was released last year.
Right.
That's one of the considerations to ensure that as much as possible the customer, is being protected. So unless the mistake, maybe through investigation, they found out that it's very, very fundamental and, poses, questions about maybe the truth of the policy of the insurance and all of that. But ideally, mistakes that can be corrected would actually, be considered for correction and not immediate outright refusal.
All right. So when people file for claims, how long does it take for these claims to be settled?
Yeah, so usually it depends on the type of claim. Typically for auto insurance and for motor claims, usually within 42 to 72 hours, the claim will be settled, at least with ICO insurance. For other classes of business, for example, for personal accidents, usually 42 to 72 hours as well. For fire claims, I know fire claims will take longer because there'll be need to do in-depth investigations and all of that. But within, as soon as, the complete documentation comes in, the claims are usually, the process is moves on as promptly as possible.
All right. Messenger says, good evening, Ma. What are the most common reasons claims are denied in Nigeria? Sheung Ibrahim is sending that one in. Sheung, I think everyone has also responded to that as well. But maybe you want to just add one or two things to it?
Yeah, okay. So just to reiterate, if it's not within the scope of the policy, it will be covered. If the policy was not active at the time of the incident, it will be covered. Sometimes all of the documents have been provided, but investigations would have revealed that there are certain key things that did not align with the policy. So most of the time there will be investigation to actually prove what is actually covered and all of those things. So if those things are not they are not within the scope of the policy,
let's take this call.
They will not be covered.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah. Good evening, Victor.
This is Comrade Daniel, right?
You are right, Victor.
Okay, nice to have you join us this evening.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Good evening, Ebu. Hello.
Ebu Satime, yes, she's listening.
Yes, okay. I think insurance, we're talking about insurance claim.
Yes, yes.
Insurance claim is one of the veritable aspects of the insurance business. And generally, the public are wary when it comes to insurance claims. Just because of some skepticism, the fear of whether they will be paid or not. But to me, I think insurance are doing well in terms of claims these days.
Okay. So it's much better than before?
Much better than before, yes. Okay. I've seen a lot of claims that most people have applied for without even visiting the insurance company. Everything was done online.
Oh.
And the claim was paid, especially in third-party insurance.
Okay. So people should feel free to file for claims. That's what it means.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
The challenge here is that people don't read their policy documents in the insurance public. There are a lot of clauses as well in the insurance contract.
Okay.
They tend to just ignore it. Of course, the attitude of a typical African man doesn't read documents. It's part of the challenge.
All right.
And also,
yes, quickly.
Yes.
Quickly.
And also, I want to ask your guest there.
Okay.
There is also excess.
SS buyback.
Excess apply to any claim. The excess buyback or excess on claims.
Okay.
Especially on the motor insurance business. It's also applied in other claims like fire and other claims of insurance.
All right. Let's allow her to respond. So, Ebon, quickly, in 30 seconds, SS buyback or excess, as the case may be, what is that concept, for those who do not understand?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. I think due to the network, I kind of missed out most of what the caller said, but quickly, excess buyback. So I mentioned excess earlier that the way insurance is designed, the insurer, the customer in this essence, for clarity's sake, the customer is expected to contribute a portion in the claim settlement.
Okay.
That portion is usually called excess, but the customer can decide to pay upfront for that excess. when they are buying the insurance, or when
insurance
they are
policy.
renewing the insurance policy. So that buying back of that excess so that they don't have to then contribute when a claim happens is what we call the excess buyback. So if the client has purchased an excess buyback at the beginning of the insurance, not when the claim has happened though, but at the beginning or maybe at the renewal, if a claim occurs, they will not be charged for, their contribution of the excess.
All right. So when an accident happens, what should people do? I mean, because a lot of times we see people fighting with themselves, and they don't just understand the fact that claims could come in handy. So what should people do when an accident happens?
Yeah. So the first thing is to, number one, first ensure your safety. You don't need to start fighting the person who has caused the accident if that's the case, if that's what the case is. Number one, first ensure your safety. If your vehicle is in an unsafe location, ensure that you tow it to the nearest police station if it's an area that you are not familiar with. Tow your vehicle to the nearest police station. Take pictures. Try to take pictures at the scene of the incident.
Right.
Videos where possible. And then send us an email. You can send us, or if you have your insurance with ICO, which I hope you do,
right.
Send us an email or walk into our office, reach out to us on our social media platforms.
Okay.
We are everywhere. So just reach out to us and then we will take it up from there.
Okay, then I hope we can continue this conversation next week. But Ebunoluwa, it's nice having you connect with us. Thank you so much for linking up with us this evening.
It's been great. It's been great here. Thank you so much.
Okay, then. All right. So this evening, we've been trying to navigate the maze of insurance claims in Nigeria. And of course, Ebunoluwa Satimei, who is an underwriter with the retail non-life department of ICO, has taken us on this excursion. We have to go. Mike James has produced the program this evening. Maximum shout out going out to Remy Aluko of our social media team. I want to appreciate Definite Media Concepts for putting all of this together. Next Thursday, 6:30, the program makes a return. But till then, I am Victor Oteri. Have a splendid evening. Bye.